This episode is brought to you by Skillshare. The first 1,000 people to sign up using the link in the description will get their first 2 months free. Photography has redefined the way we see and share the world around us. Once limited in our storytelling by words alone, photographs allow us to tell and show the most important, terrifying, or shocking moments of our lives to others. They also have opened a window into a world we never knew existed. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Infographics Show. Today we're continuing to see how photographs have changed the world in part 2 of our most shocking and important photographs ever taken. Number 10. Milk Drop Coronet. Harold Edgerton, 1957. Everybody is familiar with stop-motion photography nowadays, amazing and awe-inspiring photographs that freeze moments in time that happen so quickly the human eye completely misses them. Yet this form of photography was for many decades a daunting technical challenge. In order to obtain a perfect stop-motion photograph, you need a blazing fast shutter speed that can open and close the camera shutter in milliseconds. But behind that shutter, you also need film or a digital sensor that's light sensitive enough to capture just a few milliseconds worth of light and still produce a visible image, which is not an easy feat even for today's digital cameras. But in 1957, Harold Edgerton achieved exactly that. Working from his lab in MIT, Edgerton rigged his high-performance strobe lights with custom-made camera shutter motors and extremely light-sensitive film to capture the world's first stop-motion photograph. His invention opened up the door to a world of unseen cause and effect that happens on timescales so short that the human eye can't process it. Number 9. Emmett Till. David Jackson, 1955. In August 1955, Emmett Till, a black teenager from Chicago, was visiting family in Mississippi when he visited a local grocery store. Inside the store, he came across Carolyn Bryant, a white woman, who claimed Till flirted and/or whistled at her. 4 days later, her husband Roy Bryant and his half-brother J.W. Millam abducted Till from his great-uncle's house and beat him, shot him, and dumped him in a river after stringing barbed wire and a 75-pound metal fan around his neck. At the trial, the all-white jury acquitted the men, with one juror saying that the deliberation had taken so long only because they had to take a break and drink some pop. Till's mother, Mammy, insisted on an open casket funeral for her 14-year-old son, telling the funeral director, "Let the people see what I've seen." The publication of Till's image in Jet magazine inspired a nation to face the brutality of American racism, and it paved the way for major reforms across the American South. Number 8. Fetus, 18 weeks. Lennart Nilsson, 1965. For years, photographer Lennart Nilsson worked in conjunction with a hospital in Stockholm, Sweden, to photograph fetuses that had been aborted due to a variety of medical reasons. Working in a special room at the hospital with special lights and lenses, Nilsson arranged the fetuses so they appeared to still be floating inside the womb. His photo essay Drama of Life Before Birth was then published in Life magazine in 1965. The issue sold out within days. Since their publication, his images have been appropriated by various political groups, most notably anti-abortion activists, though Nilsson has himself never taken a stance on abortion. Number 7. Tank Man, Jeff Widener, 1989. In early June of 1989, Chinese pro-democracy demonstrators were massacred at Tiananmen Square in Beijing, China, by government troops. Sent to document the aftermath, photographer Jeff Widener was perched on his hotel balcony when he heard a column of tanks rumbling down the street. An unidentified man crossing the street and holding a grocery bag stopped in front of the tanks and refused to move. As the tanks tried to go around him, he moved back in front of them and even briefly climbed atop one. Eventually, the man was taken away by military personnel, but not before his act of defiance in the face of a totalitarian Chinese regime was immortalized forever. Published in front pages around the world, Tank Man remains a symbol of defiance against tyranny, and the identity of the subject is still a mystery. Number 6. Earthrise, William Anders, NASA, 1968. On December 24, 1968, at exactly 75 hours, 48 minutes, and 41 seconds into their mission, the astronauts of Apollo 8 captured the first image of planet Earth from another heavenly body. As the Apollo capsule started the fourth of its 10 orbits around the Moon, it emerged from the dark side of the Moon to a perfect Earth rising in the horizon of the barren moonscape. Scrambling for a camera, the first photo was taken in black and white, but astronaut William Anders managed to secure a color camera and capture the now iconic Earthrise photo. Helping launch the environmental movement, Earthrise has shown humanity how fragile our world truly is, and it proved the power of photography to inspire and change the world as we know it. Number 5. Guerrero Heroico, Alberto Corda, 1960. A day after a ship exploded in Havana Harbor, killing its crew and dozens of dock workers, Fidel Castro launched into a fiery speech blaming the U.S. for the explosion. By his side stood now world-famous revolutionary Che Guevara, and this iconic photograph was taken almost as an afterthought by the photographer Alberto Corda. The unused image sat in an archive gathering dust for 7 years until Guevara was killed leading a guerrilla movement in Bolivia. The photograph of the steely-eyed revolutionary garnered world attention and has become an international symbol for rebellion, even as it has been appropriated by commercial entities around the world to appear on everything from sodas to underwear. Somehow we doubt Che would have approved. Number 4. Windblown Jackie, Ron Galella, 1971. The original paparazzo, Ron Galella, created the model by which all other celebrity photographers would come to operate, following public figures anywhere they went. Galella specialized in capturing them in unaware moments of their everyday lives, shooting everyone from Michael Jackson to Sophia Loren and even Marlon Brando, who was no fan of Galella and knocked out 5 of his teeth. Yet Galella was not so fixated on any subject as he was on Jacqueline Kennedy, the widow of slain President John F. Kennedy. Hopping into a taxi and trailing her after spotting her in New York's Upper East Side, Galella had his driver honk his horn as he snapped his now world-famous photograph of the former First Lady. She would go on to sue Galella and eventually have him banned from photographing her family. But his candid photograph, taken in October 1971, became the iconic photograph of the American celebrity aristocracy. Number 3. Dali Atomicus, Felipe Halsman, 1948. A lifelong portrait photographer, Halsman was not satisfied with simply photographing a subject, but rather worked to infuse his subjects' portraits with their own personal identity and energy. Working with his lifelong friend and collaborator Salvador Dali, he set out to create an iconic portrait that truly captured the madcap genius of the world-famous artist. Taking 26 takes and several assistants who threw 3 cats and a bucket of water into the air as Dali leapt up, Halsman's photograph perfectly captured the essence of Dali and his work. Number 2. Oscar's Selfie, Bradley Cooper, 2014. A moment of spontaneity perfectly suited for the celebrity-saturated internet age. Bradley Cooper's selfie on Ellen DeGeneres' phone at the 2014 Oscars was jam-packed with fellow celebrities. It instantly became the most tweeted image of all time, with over 3 million retweets. Staged by Ellen DeGeneres, the moment of levity may in fact have secretly been an advertising ploy by Samsung, whose phone DeGeneres used for the photo. The photo was prominently displayed alongside the Samsung brand name in the Oscars selfie moment, and despite remaining coy about their involvement, Samsung's public relations firm acknowledged that the total advertising value of the photo may have been as high as $1 billion. Number 1. Muhammad Ali vs. Sonny Liston, Neil Leifer, 1965. Without a doubt, the most iconic sports photograph of the 20th century, Neil Leifer's photo of a defiant Muhammad Ali towering over Sonny Liston after a blistering knockdown punch became instant sports history. Just 1 minute and 45 seconds into the first round, Ali struck Liston in the chin and knocked the previous heavyweight boxing champion to the mat. And there to capture the iconic moment was Leifer, who was just feet away from the edge of the ring. Not only did Leifer's photograph perfectly capture the strength and brashness of Ali, but it also proved the cultural power of capturing the perfect moment from the perfect angle, a feat only possible by the invention of the camera. Photography has changed the world, but you can't change the world if you barely even know how to turn on a modern digital camera. Luckily, Skillshare has your back for all you budding photographers and journalists. With classes like Fundamentals of DSLR Cameras and Creative Writing, you too can be on your way to changing the world, one photo article at a time. You can learn about these and many other topics by joining Skillshare. Premium membership will give you unlimited access to topics that will improve your knowledge and your life. The first 1,000 people to sign up by visiting the link in the description will receive 2 months of Skillshare absolutely free. Join Skillshare and start learning today.